Welcome back to the Mulberry Book Drop. Sarah.
Hi.
Season 4, Episode 2.
Woohoo!
We're back at it.
We sure are.
Okay, so Sarah and I arrived at work at the same time the other day, which just doesn't happen very often because Sarah tends to get there about 10 minutes before me, probably. Maybe
Usually,
more,
yeah.
give or take. Yeah. So this random day, we showed up at the same time, and a thing happened.
Guys, I almost died.
You're so dramatic.
I am so dramatic. Okay, there are only a few things in this world that I am, terrified of, okay? One of those is lizards. Do not bring me a lizard.
I am the library lizard catcher.
Oh. And frogs. I've had a couple, terrifying experiences with frogs. I think that's why. I accidentally stepped on one. Everything went up my hood. And, okay. Sorry.
That's not a good sound for a podcast.
No, I'm sorry. And then one has fallen above the door when I've been walking into my house before. It's just traumatic. Okay. So I'm going to walk in and there's a flower bed, by the back door or whatever. So I'm walking and all of a sudden, black frog, came out and scared me. I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
If you guys could see Sarah's hands right now, she's making this frog the size of a giant turtle, and it was not, Sarah, it was not that big.
It was gigantic. Guys, I almost died. I'm not being dramatic. And it jumped in front of me, and I was just kind of oh! And Bethany starts laughing at me, and then I'm okay, well, let the frog go in front of me, So I start letting him go in front of me, and then I start walking, and get this, I take one step, and the frog turns around and starts coming back. And I was I gotta go. I was and I started running, and Bethany's just over here, just laughing, holding the door for me, having a grand old time. Meanwhile, I'm fighting for my life.
I am not afraid of frogs, and I found the whole situation to be hilarious. And poor Sarah was so traumatized that she had to call her mother and recount the whole situation over the phone to her mother as well.
I did. My life flashed before my eyes.
I find it really amusing that, I ended up working at this library where, everybody's afraid of lizards, everybody's afraid of frogs. No, remember the one time I had to drive somewhere and one of you wouldn't get in the car because there was a frog on the door of the car? And I had to flick the frog off, and I was get in the car.
I don't think that was me.
It was not you.
Oh, okay.
It was one of our other coworkers.
Okay.
And she was I am not getting in that car.
I don't remember.
And I was
that.
Get in the car.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
I do remember our director put a basket of papers or something in front of me, and all of a sudden I saw something move, and it was a lizard. And I bolted. Y'all, you may see me and be oh, she doesn't move that fast. No, I am speed. I am speed.
Do you remember there was the lizard the one time that was on the computer cord?
Oh, I can't.
For those who are not familiar with us, we're located in Florida. So frogs and lizards everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yep, and they do tend to get in.
They haunt my dreams.
So it was funny. I laughed so hard that morning.
Well, I'm glad I could give you a laugh.
I'm sorry to laugh at your pain.
It's fine.
But it was very amusing.
I'll get over it.
So, it's June.
It is. Happy June. Happy summer.
Yeah. What's happening in the city?
So much. Our pool is open, and I desperately right now really want to jump into the Sharpay song from High School Musical 2, but I will spare you.
I don't know if we have the music rights.
It's okay. It's okay. And
we have summer reading going on,
which is going great.
Yes. So make sure you stop by and get your bookmarks if you want to help us try and reach our reading minute goal.
Yes, big programs. Every summer we have big programs. We bring in outside people and we have a great time. We host them in the Civic Center Friday mornings, and they're free.
They are free.
So if it's free, it's for
me.
Yeah. So you should come.
Ahoy, matey. Have you guys been to see the new pirate ship?
It's so cool.
It really is. I wish I had recordings of the reviews that some of the kids have given us, because when they come into the library to tell us that they were playing on the pirate ship, it is the absolute best.
Can you say the response that someone said to you the other day? It was amazing.
Well, we've had a lot of kids telling us that this pirate ship is the greatest thing ever. There was the one kid that was telling us that they were fighting another imaginary pirate, and we were did you win? No. Total just
It was amazing.
We laughed so hard. But I think one of my favorites is actually we have had a request to get a second pirate ship that faces the first pirate ship so that there can now be 2 pirate ships. So, City, if you're listening.
So they can go to war.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Out here trying to win battles.
Yes. So, definitely come see our new pirate ship. It's been a blast.
It really has.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun hearing the kids talk about how fun it is, and the parents enjoy it too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so for this month, I wanted to focus on something that I've been thinking about for a little bit. I got to go to a really cool training session that I think I sort of alluded to last episode. And it was all about reader advisory. And I learned so much when I was there. It was really cool. The Tampa Bay Consortium had put this thing on, and it was right in Bartow, and my name was drawn, and I got to go. And so I was all excited. And I'm sitting there listening to this person talk, and the presenter was a phenomenal speaker. And all of a sudden I'm like, I just realized why I know her name. I'd listened to her on a podcast.
Oh.
So she was actually interviewed by one of my favorite podcasters. And so like during one of the short breaks, I went up and I told her that I had heard her on this episode. And she was like, oh my gosh, she's my friend. And I was like, oh, and then we started talking about the book that person had written that I had just read. And so it was really, really cool to actually have like a connection with her too. But I learned so much. And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that like, we can all read the same book, but our takeaway is completely different.
Oh, yeah.
So how you describe the book and how I describe the book and what you got out of it and what I got out of it and what this person and that like it's always going to be different because you never know what you're looking for when you're reading or the mood you're in when you're reading. And I just thought that was really, really an important thing. And it really is making me refocus how I talk about books. So like I mentioned last episode, how I'm trying to not talk as much about the plot, but more about like the characteristics of the book. So one of the things that she had talked about though was series. And we do have a lot of series readers.
Yes.
I think that's probably a common thing in the library. Like maybe I'm generalizing, but I do find that like when you are going into a library, a lot of times you are looking for a comfort read. And so you are looking for, you know, there's a certain patron that's always looking for their like favorite authors and for that comfort read, right? And that brings you to the series. So Sarah, how often when you're at the desk, do you have somebody come up to you and ask you, have you read, and then you can just insert any popular author or series here while you're checking the person out? Like how often do they say, have you read this author?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
And are you ever mortified because when you look at the author, you think to yourself, they have like 300 books.
All the time. Yes.
And you like panic because you're not sure how to answer the question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I don't because I'm like, I don't read them.
Yeah. You guys don't understand. Like, it's actually scary because there's only so much time. And it's like, do I read 300 books by the same author? And maybe I do love them, or do I try like 300 new authors that I've never read so that I can talk to people about these books and see what kind of stuff I also enjoy?
Right.
And I think that's where this reader advisory thing was going. And so today I would like to advocate for trilogies. So the actual definition of a trilogy, Sarah, is a group of 3 related novels, plays, films, operas, or albums. So a trilogy can be in reference to books, movies, music, like all of that stuff, as long as it comes in a group of 3.
Yeah.
So I want to advocate today for trilogies because the more I was thinking about it, I also realized something about myself.
What?
Because you like to watch movies and shows and all, right? I'm starting to find movies are not giving me as much as I want anymore.
Interesting.
But I do not have the time or the patience for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to me, screenwriters, I would like to advocate for the 6 to 8 part miniseries. I feel like that's my sweet spot.
Okay.
I think that that's where you can give me enough character development as well as closure, where I can really get the full story and just enjoy it for what it is. And to me, even though I know it's not a 3, that's sort of like the trilogy of the screen world. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't know if you have thoughts on that. You're welcome to share if you do.
Yeah, I don't feel that way.
No?
I'm
Okay.
kidding. Just on shows.
Oh, okay.
So I do love shows, and I am so bad about just rewatching shows that I love.
Yeah.
So like One Tree Hill has like 9 or 10 seasons, and I will sit there and watch all 9 and 10 seasons. Like I've never watched them before, and it's my 4th time watching it through. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, to each their own, because I do also appreciate when there are miniseries. I do like those too. So, yeah.
I do rewatch stuff that's my comfort, but I do often find that for some reason it seems around like season 6, like things start to take a dip. And I'm just like, sometimes I wish you would go out on a high.
Yeah.
You know? Just,
yeah.
I don't know. So in terms of trilogies, I did do a little bit of research just to kind of see, and I did find, we mentioned this on a previous episode, but one of the ones that I think really brought trilogies back is 50 Shades of Grey. E.L. James. And what I found really interesting is that was a trilogy, but then the author also put out a second trilogy that's all told from Christian's perspective, which I think I do vaguely remember that, but I was not working at the bookstore anymore when that all happened. So I think in my head there was only like one that came out. I don't know. But apparently it is a whole trilogy. And I think that's probably the first one that I really remember people coming in and asking for regularly when I was working in the stores and stuff like that. And I think that's the one that really made the word trilogy and the concept of a trilogy so popular. Even though there's a ton of them that were already out there. Yeah. Like the first one that I ever read in high school was the Oedipus trilogy by Sophocles. And I just always, a lot of people, you know, you might know like the Oedipus complex or like some of those kind of phrases. But that was a whole trilogy that I remember we had to read and break down. And I don't know, I learned a lot at the time when I was reading it. And I remember I liked the first and the third play the most because they were plays. I didn't really care for the middle, but I couldn't necessarily tell you why because it's been a long time.
That was only like 5 years ago.
Oh, you're so sweet. Is there any that come to your mind that you can think of?
I mean, immediately, like when you talked to me about this, I did think of like Hunger Games and I believe Divergent, right? Trilogy.
Yeah.
So my brain, I think because they like made the last book or tried to make it into like 2 different movies for Hunger Games and that, yes. I'm like, and even though I know like she put out a new book for Hunger Games, like this is still a trilogy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are immediately what I thought of. Yeah. And I enjoyed both of those very much. And I actually thought about rereading them. So those were my immediate thoughts.
And if you Google, they do still show up as trilogies because Hunger Games was initially written as a trilogy. Yeah. And so it shows up on all the lists, like aside from the new one that was released.
And I will say, I do love a good trilogy. Yeah. I do. It's something about like a lot of things happening. The middle book isn't always the favorite, but like still things are happening. And then that last book, it just like rounds it out nice.
Well, and there's
hopefully
there's like a safety, like there's a security in knowing that I have 3 books. So when I get to the cliffhanger in this one, I can immediately open the next one and find out what happened. Like, so if it's already finished and you know it was released as a trilogy, like you got time, it's going to be okay. And you have this next book to turn to. Right. And I love that like security of knowing it's there waiting for me. So one of the ones that I thought was really interesting because I never actually thought of it as a trilogy is Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, I have them.
Right. But for some reason in my head, The Hobbit is part of it. So that's 4 books. But The Hobbit is not part of the trilogy. And if you look it up on all the lists, like for the series numbers and all that, it's listed as 0. Yeah. So it is, but it isn't, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just always thought of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit as separate, even though I know they're not. I've just always thought of them as separate. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was one of those weird ones where I was just like, but is it? So it's like, book, man. They can just do whatever they want. You never know. Do you have another one you want to share?
I actually did Matched by Ali Condie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's in the YA section. Actually, our director recommended it to me, and it is like dystopian-y. Okay. But it's 3 books, and I read all 3 of them on my Kindle. It's the first books that I read on my Kindle, which was exciting. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and because I knew there was going to be an ending, I think was what pushed me to read it. Because right now I'm in the middle of a series, and it's longer than 3 books, and I'm like, am I mentally ready for a series? Because I don't read a lot of series anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, and it's like 5 or 6 books, and I'm like, oh. And I'm on number 2, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, well, if I like it enough, I'll keep going. But I know something about a trilogy is it's like what you said, there's only 3.
Right. I can handle 3 books.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, here's a funny one for you. So I was looking up trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
You know if you haven't read the book, maybe you've seen the movie, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I'm familiar with it, but I haven't done either.
Okay, so it's listed as a trilogy.
I didn't know that.
But then here's me. Aren't there like 7 books? So I looked it up, and upon further research, guys, Millennium is the name of the actual trilogy. And the author, Larsson, he wrote these first 3 books, but then unexpectedly passed away.
Oh.
So Millennium is the original trilogy, but then there's a second trilogy that's written by another author, and there's a third trilogy in the process being written by yet another author.
Interesting.
Yes, I thought this was the strangest thing. I have never in my life, like, I am used to seeing now, like, other authors writing a series that has already, I'm used to people having it passed along and all that kind of stuff. But to have it literally be listed as these, like, 3 separate trilogies, I found absolutely fascinating.
Mm.
So I do know there's a lot of people who are like, just, nope, I will only read the first 3. I don't want to read this by like another author. And like, I respect that too. So to each their own, like, no judgment on my part. I just thought it was really interesting to think that it's one series, but it's going to be 3 trilogies.
Mm.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is.
And then the other one, I think they turned it into a TV show, and it's kind of always been on my list to check out, but I haven't seen it yet. And it's called All Souls by Deborah Harkness. The first book was called The Discovery of Witches, which I had read, and I really enjoyed it. And it's, there's like witches, there's a vampire, there's a like forbidden love and this mysterious manuscript and like all of these things kind of happening. And it was a really intriguing story. I just thought it was like a lot of fun. So I'm curious how they did the TV show.
I think I did see something about that.
Yeah, it was a good one. And then there was one other one. I was thinking about my teens, like, because I think Matched that you said is also young adult.
Yeah.
But I think trilogies are also really good for that age group because it's like you only have so much time sometimes and maybe your attention span. And I think trilogies do tend to be really popular for the teen and tween age group. Mm-hmm. But remember how you and I read the Lunar Chronicles and we loved it?
Yes.
Okay, so Marissa Myers actually has another one, and it's a trilogy. It's the Renegades trilogy. And my one son absolutely loved it. So it's like humans with extraordinary abilities, dystopian, vengeance versus justice, like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So he said it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Can I bring up something that's not a trilogy, but that I feel like is a trilogy at the same time?
Let me think. I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's actually, which you didn't think I was going to go a whole season without talking about this,
No.
but the Selection series. And I talked about it with you the other day, and I was like, but then thinking about it more, I was like, it does feel like the first 3 books are a trilogy. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 4th and a 5th book, but it's about the next generation.
Yes.
So I almost feel like that is a trilogy. And that's honestly, when I recommend it to people, I'm like, really, like, those 3 books for sure. And like the 4th and 5th one, you can if you want to, but like,
yes,
you don't need to finish that story.
So fun fact. If you Google for popular trilogies, the Selection was actually listed.
Pew, 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 pew. They heard me talking.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Isn't that funny? Well, it was really cool because I know we kind of went through some of these really fast, but again, I'm trying not to get too in the weeds by talking about plots and stuff. So I want to talk more in general terms. Mm-hmm. But when the presenter was asking us about like, oh, think about a book that you really enjoy. So don't think about your favorite book. Mm-hmm. Just think about a book that you really enjoyed. And mm-hmm. so then we had to like describe that book to somebody. And, in this room, it was like, there was a lot of us where it was like, we were able to just narrow it down to like a couple of books and maybe they were just a standalone title. But there was a couple of people who had mentioned like a specific series. And like one of the ones that was mentioned, I mean, it is one of those series that has like 50 books. And I'm just like, It's an author that's always been on my list to read just because I really want to know what their writing style is like. But then I always get nervous because I'm like, I just don't, like, what if I enjoy it and I don't have that much time to put into reading all the rest of them?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've talked about Janet Ivanovich on here before, but it's like at the time when I read those, I wasn't doing anything else. So it was almost like, you know, I had said before, like we moved here, I didn't have friends yet. Like I was literally just trying to keep my head on straight, floating in my pool. And so those were my friends. And like, I'll be forever grateful that like Stephanie Plum was my BFF for a year. But like now my life is different.
Right.
And so I don't have that time to put into that type of series. And so I'm just like, maybe later. And, you know, because that's what's scary is it's like, if you do read that first one just to see, what if you get sucked in?
What if you get a taste of goodness and you're like, I want more?
Yeah, because there's like so many good authors out there.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming. Reading is such a time consuming pastime, but like, I think personally, it's the best pastime.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agreed.
So, trilogies. If you are looking to write, I just want to advocate for trilogies here. I think it's really good. You get your character development.
Yeah.
You get like the whole, and I do love a good cliffhanger. I really, really do. But I also like closure. So
Correct.
You can give me 2 cliffhangers and some closure.
There you go.
And we good.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
But I am a huge, like, I don't typically like to read books until after they're all out. And I've done that this year. And now I'm waiting. And I'm at a cliffhanger. And I'm like, man, okay.
Yeah, it's nice when they're all like already out and then you can.
And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to, like, that book won't be out until next year.
Okay. I do find I'm a sucker for a prequel. And I think we've mentioned this one before on the podcast, but like sometimes you read a standalone and you're just like, oh my gosh, it was such a perfect book. And then all of a sudden this prequel comes out and you're like, what? And so then you read the prequel and you get all of this extra content on these characters that you love so much. And you really get an even more vivid, full picture of who they are in this whole story. And I just think Angie Thomas with The Hate You Give and Concrete Rose
crushed it.
She really just blew my mind. I didn't think I could love those characters anymore. But then when I read Concrete Rose, and so I find it amusing though, when you're looking at a trilogy and then they go and write this extra book. And if it does fall before it and they put it as a 0, that it's still listed as a trilogy. And I like, sometimes I wish I could go like behind the scenes in the publishing world and really get to know and like understand more about like how some of those decisions work. But I think part of the mystery, like that's part of the fun, right? The not really knowing like whose idea was it? Did you just have these unfinished thoughts about these characters? Like, where did this come from? Were you asked to write it? You know, but writing is such a personal endeavor too, that I think, like I said, that's kind of part of the mystery, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Agreed.
So, if you guys have any trilogies that you really loved, I would definitely appreciate having them brought to my attention because, like I said, I really am kind of a sucker for that, like, little short extra. I mean, I know it's like I could just read a 1,000-page book, but, like, I feel like it's a little more fun when you have, like, 3 separate books to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, Sarah.
Yes?
What are you reading now?
It's so crazy. Remember how I mentioned that I was currently reading a series? I am. And I am on the second book, which is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, back at it.
I am.
Okay.
I've had a lot of friends that have just really been like, no, you have to read it. And then they'll be like, what part are you at? Because I'm listening to it. And I'm just like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I really know where I am. I'm almost halfway through the book, too.
Okay.
And I'm just enjoying it for what it is. Just enjoying it as a story. There's, like, no characters. And I'm like, oh, I love them. But that's okay. So, what are you reading?
I don't think you always have to love your character.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think as long as you're engaged in the book.
Yeah. And I am trying to be more into fantasy and stuff like that. So, and this is helping that. Because I do enjoy fantasy. Yeah. So, it's on my journey back to fantasy.
I do think you and I have both been reading outside of our, like, normal wheel this past year.
Go us.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot, like the books that we keep telling each other about, and I'm just like, I never would have thought she would pick that up. And you're always just like, you're reading what?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a whole new year.
Yeah. What about you? What are you reading?
So to go along with the training thing I was at, I finally had a hold drop in for me, and it's called Why We Read, on bookworms, libraries, and just one more page before lights out by Shannon Reed. It's nonfiction, and so far, I think my review of it is I feel so seen.
Oh.
I really, really do. Shannon Reed, she tells you in it that she's a lifelong reader, like lifelong library user, reader, all of that stuff. But she is also a professor. And one of the things I like the most about her is it sounds like the way that she runs her classes is like, I just want you to finish the book and be able to come talk about it. Like, there's no right or wrong answers. I'm not going to give you a worksheet where you have to tell me, what was this book about? What did it mean? What did it, none of that kind of stuff. We just have to be able to have a conversation and really just kind of break the books down. And I find it really interesting that one of the ones she talks about a lot is Gone Girl. She uses that for her class. And it's so cool listening to the way she talks about it and how her students react to it and some of that kind of stuff. And like what she uses it to teach them. And it's really, really fascinating. And I am absolutely loving this book. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, Sarah, it's you.
All right. So, excuse me. So sorry. So like Bethany said, if there's any trilogies that we should read, if there's any books that you're like, oh no, I totally relate to this, that kind of thing, let us know. Email us at themulberrylibrary@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So with that,
happy reading, Mulberry.